My name's Jason Jaspersen, and we call this Whistle the Feast. Someday we'll explain that to you. I'm joined today in a dialogue with a good friend of mine, an old friend, Faith Belt. She's recently arrived on the campus of Bethany Lutheran College here in Mankato, Minnesota. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about what she's doing here, what she aspires to be. What kind of a human are you becoming? Maybe some origin story talk, and we'll see where else we meander. So, Faith, what are you doing here?
That's a great question.
And where did you come from?
I'll start with where I came from. So I'm from Johnson City, Tennessee, which is like, Tennessee's a very long state. I'm right on
She's making gestures right now, making a map.
Yes. I'm like far away from Nashville. I'm on the west end.
Inland.
No, I'm on the east end.
Oceanside.
Yes. Right up in the Appalachian Mountains. So I was born and raised there, lived there my whole life. And I went to school there. I went to the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, only less than 2 hours away from home. And now I'm here. This is the farthest I've been away from home.
You've been further from home. I've been further with you.
That's true, but for a long stretch.
Sure.
So
okay. You joined us on our Italy trip.
Yes, that is true. I have been further. And that was really awesome. That was a great trip. But I studied art at the University of Tennessee, which is, like, I've had some people ask me before, like, why did you choose art? And I have no idea why. I knew it was something I enjoyed. And I just remember going to orientation at school, and I was like, well, I want to take art classes. So then I took art classes, and then it just sort of, I was doing an art major.
The first time I met you was before that time. We worked on an art project together pre-college.
Yes. Yeah, that was the Wells Youth Rally in Bowling Green, Ohio, in 2018.
I have a hard time knowing.
I think it was 2018. Yeah, well, I had seen your work at the youth rally a couple years before that with the band Koine. And I remember, like, teenage me being like, nobody told me that this existed. Because I always liked art through high school and before then. And I remember seeing the artwork, like, married with the music and just being like, it stretched my imagination, and I got very excited. But then I met you at the next youth rally, and you were doing a giant banner painting of Jesus with his hand stretched out, which was really, yeah. I remember I did, like, I think the right eye of that. I was kind of nervous about that because I was like, the eye is an important part of the face. So, but yeah, I remember that whole project and feeling very just felt like a sort of the right thing to be doing in that moment. I don't know. Maybe like, I don't think I ever chose art. It just, like, opportunities kept happening, and I've just found a home in that. So
that's a recurring sentiment. I've sat around this table with the microphones and heard several people say similar things, that they're not quite sure how it happened, but there was like a momentum or an inevitability to becoming an artist.
Yeah. It's like, you're supposed to be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, so on the timeline, you're at orientation in college.
Yeah, I think that was literally the weekend after that youth rally.
Oh, wow.
I think so. And that was kind of jarring and weird, but I knew I wanted to do art, so.
And you had a fresh art experience recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, went through school. UT was really awesome. It's a big university, so there's lots of resources. They had like an artist in residence program, so artists, usually from New York, would come in and teach the upper level classes. And that was really nice. It was a little bit of a gamble because sometimes you got an artist that you just didn't click with, but sometimes you learn a lot from people that you don't necessarily
contrast.
Yeah, you learn that way too. But there were a couple really great professors in that program. I was talking to you about one who did a professional practices class, and lesson 1 was on vocation, which I was like, wait a minute.
Well, enlighten our we're calling them readers. Enlighten our readers.
Yeah, so the whole class was professional practices. So you were doing things like CVs and just like artist statements, all the sort of nitty gritty stuff. But my professor, his name is Jared Sprecher at the University of Tennessee. He talked about vocation and that like your life as an artist looks like a lot of different things. So, for example, you're not just an artist. You are also, in my case, I would be a daughter, a sister, maybe like a worker for something specific. You're a friend, you're a granddaughter, all these different things. And that makes up, like, your identity is not necessarily rooted as artist. It's just one of the ways to be creative through or to serve through. I think he talked about Telos in that class too. I hope I'm saying that right. Telos. About
enlighten our readers.
Yes, that's like sort of your end goal. Like what is it that you are doing with all of these different roles that you might have? So
purpose. What does it lead to?
Yes. Yeah. What is the higher thing that is being pursued?
So you're telling this story because it caught your attention.
Yes.
What about it?
I should give this other detail. A lot of the class was also reading about a lot of different artists and their lives. And I think that helped me see that, like, you don't just you get the degree, now you're an artist, so then you put your work in galleries, and then you hope you survive that way. There's like so many more different creative ideas and lifestyles that pop up that way. Sometimes there's a period of time where you're not making work, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not an artist. All of those roles sort of overlap in certain ways. So
that helped you frame your expectations of how the path works, or how many ways it could work?
Yes. Yeah. Just to know that what it looks like is, I think expectations is a good way to put that. You can be creative in 1,000 different ways, and
that's not an actual number.
Yes, exactly. Those things just like seep into every part of life. So.
Yeah. Okay, but come back around. Like, you're sitting in this professional practices class, and you indicated that there was some flag that went up about what this professor is saying. Why is it significant that he's talking about vocation? I know. I just want you to say it.
Let me think about that for a second. I guess for me, throughout college, there was this sort of like searching or seeking. It's like, I want to make art. I love doing it. But then, like, how do I make this work, and what is the point of doing it? What am I making work about? And like faith was definitely a big part of that during my college career, but I don't think it was something that was fully integrated during that time. There was a lot of searching.
Yeah, and integration is a good term for where I think you're going.
Yeah, because I apprenticed with you it was the summer after my junior year, because you had done it before, and I was like, wait a minute, I want to learn from somebody who is a working artist, who makes work that I really like, and then also can talk about that relationship with faith. And like, yeah, how that is all connected and doing it in interesting ways. You're doing more than like painting a picture of Jesus, you know?
You mean, when you say you mean we? Or me?
Yeah, I should say, I think the idea of Christian art that I had throughout college was, okay, you have to basically illustrate Bible stories. But then there are other ways. There's like deeper conversations happening there.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Well, it does, because I'm in that realm. You know, I know exactly where you are, but I'm not sure that our readers are totally familiar with, you know, this sounds pretty ambiguous right now. We have to use our words.
Okay. So are you talking like sort of the...
What else are we doing besides painting a picture of Jesus? When you say that, you know, what are you implying? What else is happening?
So I had the idea that if you're a Christian artist, then your art needs to look Christian, meaning you're illustrating Bible stories. And that's the conversation. But I've since seen a lot of examples of artists who are, I think you've used the term honest artists before, which I really like. There's like a genuineness in the work they're making. Sometimes it doesn't look like a picture of Abraham and Isaac, or like with Isaac with the wood on his back as they walk up the mountain. Maybe it's more meditative, more it's engaging with your audience who may or may not have any background with that story.
You know, Martin Luther has a story about vocation. He talked about, you know, what is worthy work in just this area of your life of work. And he was working to validate in a context where there was a hierarchy. There was sort of a holier class and a therefore implied less holy class in sort of the monastic tradition and Catholic bureaucracy, I suppose. So he was in character, you know, he was like he translated into the people's language, wrote hymns in, you know, sort of pseudo bar song, popular culture kind of ways. Wrote a catechism aimed at children to be made simple. So he was all about this sort of accessibility and, you know, making things available and understandable and maybe elevating the mundane. So his story about vocation is that you don't, if you're a cobbler, if you're a shoemaker, you don't necessarily have to put crosses on the shoes that you make to be doing God-pleasing work. You just do your job well.
You make a good shoe.
Make a good shoe.
Yeah.
And that is noble vocation. So I'm trying to loop us back around to this professor.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about vocation, Telos, right? Didn't you find out something about him?
Oh, yeah. He's Lutheran.
Oh, ding, ding.
Yeah. I don't know why else someone would be talking about vocation. But.
Well, it's not a trademarked word, but
sure.
But I think it's interesting that you could read between the lines. Mm-hmm. You saw the signs.
Yeah.
Okay, so remember the initial question. What are you doing here?
Yes.
Right. So we're on a timeline somewhere. You're so far you're in college at UT, and I would suggest you're learning about what you can do.
Yes. In college?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did my capstone at college. I think I was a 2D concentration, which meant that I did painting and drawing. But then I took just as many sculpture, like ceramic sculpture classes as any other class. And then I ended up doing an underwater puppet show for my capstone. So
okay, so I'm gonna just recap that in slow motion. Right?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, 2D as in two-dimensional, and then you're saying this in contrast that you end up taking 3D classes. You're doing ceramic work, and then twist ending.
Yeah.
You're doing something that's sort of unrelated to all of it. You said what? Underwater puppetry?
Underwater puppetry.
Yeah. It to me, the way that sounds to somebody hearing this, it sounds very close to underwater basket weaving.
Yeah.
You know, the joke of like, what did you do in college? You spent how much for what? What did you do?
Yeah.
So paint a picture for us a little bit of what do you mean by underwater puppetry?
Sure. So when I think back, puppetry was like a part of my childhood in a lot of ways. I have 3 other siblings, and I just remember we wouldn't even put on shows. We would just sort of go back and forth and talk with puppets that we had, or just be silly. Yeah. There's a lot of physical humor in my family, still is. But
I love it.
So I was taking a video class in college because we were required to take a certain number of the different mediums, and video was one of them. And that, for me, that class was really difficult because it was like make the art and also plan the shooting, learn how to use a camera, which that's still really hard for me to do. And then like it was just a lot of logistics, and I got overwhelmed, and I ended up just trying to do something that was in my dorm room, and basically solo. Well, I had my twin sister help me with this one. Sort of limited people to fulfill the assignment, but also do something interesting. Like, because you're going to school, you want to do more than just get the grade. You might as well explore something.
I don't think that's a given. Not everybody agrees, but I understand you enough to know that that's true. You want more than just getting the grade.
Yeah. So I ended up doing a sock puppet rendition of a scene from Macbeth.
Underwater?
This was not underwater yet. I'm doing the long story here, unfortunately, but
it's fine.
And that something clicked in my brain. I was like, I was sort of doing this out of, I won't call it necessity, but I'll call it just wanting to make the project easier, or just giving myself limitations, perhaps. But I found that giving myself those limitations, I had a lot more fun. So
what limitations?
Do a video project just in your dorm room, and then picking something that sort of already existed.
And these are self-imposed limitations?
Yes. Yeah. Some people were going out to like railroads and outside with a lot of actors, which, like, that's great and everything, but my brain was not. It's hard to balance that when you're doing a lot of other classes. Yeah. But something clicked. I was like, I enjoyed taking a story and then using sort of simple materials to tell that story. Just limited things, do a good job with those limited things. So then the next project for that video class, I did a shadow puppet show where it was like Claire de Lune, the music of Claire de Lune, with sort of this no narration, no words, of a moon and these moths. I'll call it sort of a movement or a dance. And then that's when I discovered, like, wow, shadow puppets. Moths.
Flying insects.
Yes.
Okay.
And that, I think at that point I was like, wow, shadow puppetry is actually really cool. And
so did you use real moths?
No, it was shadow puppet moths.
What does that mean?
I cut moths out of paper, attached them to sticks, and then I used a shadow screen, which was basically a frame, like a wooden frame, with a piece of newsprint paper that was backlit. Think like shadow puppets as a kid with your hands. You need the light. You need a screen. Sometimes if you're a kid, you just use the wall, but I was using a screen. And then some puppets on sticks. And then you just set up your camera, turn it on for an hour, and play this song over and over again.
Okay, so you're capturing footage and there's music.
Yeah, and I remember...
You're performing.
Yes, performing. I think my twin sister helped me with that one a lot, too. She helped me do a lot of my projects,
Yeah.
Come to think about it. But it's hard to do things alone. You can do it, but...
I think it depends on the thing you're doing.
True.
And performance, any kind of a performance, I think you can perform alone, but most performance is a collaborative project.
Yeah. That's something I'm still learning about, and yeah. Plus, with puppets, you're a little bit limited because I only have 2 hands.
You're one of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I could get away with holding 4 total puppets, but at that point, you can't make them do cool things anymore. So, juggling with too many things. So I did that video, and I was kind of astounded by how mesmerizing and immersive something so simple could be. I mean, it's just paper behind a screen with music, and it was simple and it worked really well. A lot of people in the class, I remember that critique, people were like, you have to do more of this. So I did.
There was something was happening.
Yeah.
You could tell from the feedback that you had done something.
There was a resonant thread that I liked, that I could sense, and then that other people were catching on to as well, which I'm encouraged by validation. So,
so I have 2 thoughts, and I hope I remember them both. One is I've seen your shadow puppet shows, and I can verify that there is something tremendously engaging about witnessing this. And I've been backstage. I've helped perform.
Yeah.
That side of it is also a different kind of mesmerizing because, like, it's very focused.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to hit their cues, but also, like, we all know it's okay. You know, if you're a little bit off or whatever, like, that's sort of the nature of what we're doing.
It's okay for it to look very handmade. It's like I'm trying to make it so tactile, so analog.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's the mesmerizing thing, that suddenly you realize nobody in the room knows what comes next.
Yeah.
The performers have intentions, but there's something just like the stakes are high. Mm-hmm. This is happening now, and you don't get to watch it again.
Yeah. Which I started doing live. I did live performance for my capstone, and then I've been doing live performance since. Like, the video is fun, and there's a lot within that, but something about live performance is just magical.
I experienced this with music.
Yeah.
When I hear live music, I'm just very aware of the magical physics happening. And this seems so unlikely. How can this... I call it sorcery. I just think you're manipulating physics somehow into this beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And then it's gone. It just vaporizes.
Yeah. You had to be there.
It had to be there. So I remember the second thing that I wanted to say. It maybe should be noted that you mentioned your simple materials. Mm-hmm. You're transforming those simple materials. You're elevating the mundane. That's not nothing. Like, that's something worth noting, because that's what we just said about Martin Luther's doctrine of vocation.
Yeah. And
it occurs to me that that's what God does with sacraments. Water,
Ooh.
wine, bread, things that are just like around. These are domestic things that God uses. Or when Jesus tells a parable, he emphasizes accessibility, a story that is normal, right? And then he elevates that mundane. He makes it into something that means more than you can see, right? So when you cut out some paper and stick it on a stick, and you've got a light bulb or a candle or whatever, that combination, the intent behind it, it kind of highlights like how little you need to actually create something important.
Yeah.
That was my second thought. You're elevating the mundane in ways that God does.
Whoa.
Okay.
I will mention there's there's a lot of different types of puppetry, and all of them are really cool. But I really like shadow puppetry because it's a metaphor or an image in and of itself. Just like your things are transformed with light. So, I mean, and then there's like a wealth of storytelling you can go into with that alone.
You see significance in the light.
Yeah. Because honestly, if you look at a lot of my puppets, they're kind of ugly, like with just tape, and sometimes like mechanisms have to be hidden, and they're not particularly beautiful to look at. But with shadow, it unifies everything. So.
Yeah, I can verify that these are, when you see, it's a little disappointing to see the thing that made this show. You look at this show and wow, look at that. You know, what's coming next? And then inevitably, like, you want to see behind the scenes, and it's just like masking tape. And
it's so thrown together.
Yeah. Which I think that's a metaphor to just sort of dwell on too, that I think in the same way, that's like Moses saying, I can't talk, you know, like, I'm not a shepherd. And God says, nope, you're the one. Yeah. You're going to do great things. Or, you know, Samuel kept asking for, don't you have any more sons? Well, there's the runt out there. Like, you know, he's the one. Maybe the masking tape is also congruent.
Yeah.
Okay, so we haven't gotten underwater yet.
Oh, yeah.
So we're reeling back. We're going back to your capstone, right?
Yes.
So far, you've told us about sock puppets and a moon and moths, two separate compositions, two separate performances. And then?
Capstone came after that.
Okay.
Well, I should say, okay, those other projects happened my junior year. Then I apprenticed with you. So puppets were cooking in the back of my mind, like, because I had done it a little bit before and it worked really well and I wanted to do more. And then you told me to watch My Octopus Teacher on Netflix.
Yeah, there was a time when I was telling everybody, you got to see this thing.
It's really good. Yeah. But there's a scene in that documentary where it's just like B-roll of slow-moving kelp forests. Like it's been slowed down a little bit. There's something here also about the slowness of things, like shadow puppetry. At least the way that I do it, I like it to be slow and meditative. Like you literally have the lights turned off everywhere and you're only focused on one thing. There's like something immersive about that. So like you have someone's attention and you can do a lot with slow movement. It's like dancing in a way. But to backtrack, My Octopus Teacher, there's slow moving kelp forests. And I was like, ooh, that looks really cool. I wonder if I could do something like that with puppets. So then it was my senior year, my last year at school, and I kind of started experimenting the semester before my capstone semester. So I found some fish tanks, one on Facebook Marketplace, and then one in a dumpster outside of a dorm. So, yeah, so many treasures.
We call that Providence. That's manna.
Yeah, truly. So I had some stuff set up in my studio space there. I was probably a problem for the maintenance workers there with giant things of water everywhere. But I just played for a semester. I set up like my phone in front of the fish tank and I experimented with lighting and fabrics and different materials. And then sort of a story emerged from all of that. Actually, several stories emerged from that, and then I got some decision fatigue, and then I sort of procrastinated. It came together at the end, and I did a shadow puppet show based off of the an underwater. It was like a mixture of underwater puppets and shadow puppetry, because you can, if you're backlighting something, you can make a shadow puppet screen, which I was doing with a fish tank, because fish tanks, you can't light from the front or there's a giant glare. So there were a lot of like little problems to figure out, which was kind of fun. You know you're in a strange place when you look up how to light a fish tank and there's limited results on Google. So
yeah. Oh, that's an interesting thing to find out the internet doesn't quite know the thing that I want.
Yeah, there's not a lot of precedent for underwater puppets. There's a little bit. There's Vietnamese water puppetry.
That's right.
Which happens on top of the water, but there's still like a lot of...
All the performers are in a pool hiding behind a wall.
Yeah, and they use the water for like splashing, and like a lot of the puppets are people in boats or different creatures.
That's not exactly what you're doing, though. Your puppets are submerged.
Right. I did look at those for like the rod. These were rod puppets, a lot of the underwater puppets.
What's a rod puppet?
Oh, okay. A rod puppet is a puppet operated by a rod. So you have, there's Muppet puppets, which are hand puppets. Then you have shadow puppets and rod puppets, and then marionettes. So a rod puppet and a marionette are actually very similar. A marionette, you have strings. A rod puppet is a rod. Usually those are operated from below. There's a rod from below, and sometimes people put like a talking mouth mechanism or blinking mechanism. But all these underwater puppets, because you can't have a...
Yeah, you can't be under the tank.
Yeah. Maybe that's something to try for another time, but you have to do it from above. And there's actually Sicilian rod puppets do have rods from above. Those are kind of like in between rod and marionettes.
Okay, so you've got rod puppets from above in the water tank.
Yes.
And you're still mid-sentence on what the theme is or what the topic is.
Yeah, it was based off of the Arthurian legend of the questing beast.
The questing beast.
Yes. So this was sort of based off of T.H. White's The Once and Future King, which is he was in the mid 1900s, I think. But he wrote sort of a version of the Arthurian legends. But he talks a lot about this questing beast, which is this sort of mythical beast. It sort of looks like a giraffe, but like the description is like it's got the head of a snake and a long neck, and it's covered in spots, and it's kind of looks like a camel. It just like kind of doesn't make sense when you describe it. I mean, honestly, like someone in England during Arthur's time to describe a giraffe would be a weird experience.
Right.
I'm thinking of like the way they drew animals in medieval times.
Yes.
They're always a little wonky or really wonky.
A game of telephone.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not eyewitnesses doing the drawings.
Yeah.
Okay, so questing beast.
Questing beast. So there's a character called King Pellinore in the story of the questing beast. And he's left his castle and his warm fluffy bed to basically run around the forest looking for the questing beast. He is the only one who's ever seen it. So he'll describe what he's hunting to other people that he comes across during his travels, but people are like, this guy is crazy. But so he's literally living in the woods, and he's got this old dog and this poor, weary, rugged horse. And there's just this guy just wants to catch this thing. We don't really know why.
Sounds like Moby Dick.
I actually have never read Moby Dick, but
the
whale. There's a great whale that he's trying to catch.
He's obsessed.
Yeah.
And it's out there somewhere.
Yeah. I should do a shadow puppet show of that.
Well, we're gonna get to that. You've been whale adjacent.
Yes, that's true. So there's that kind of idea. This guy who's given up a lot to chase after this thing that a lot of people are like, what is he doing? And then there's another narrative in that storyline, because this is all happening. Like the story is about King Arthur, but I kind of picked this side story that's going on. The questing beast and King Pellinore sort of pop up in a lot of different ways in this story about, at least in T.H. White's telling of it, it's about it's a coming of age story, and figuring out like, what do I do with myself? How do I grow up? How do I mature? How do I rule as a king for King Arthur?
So hunting a questing beast could be like studying for a career, like trying to chase a future.
Yeah.
Being out in the woods, trying to figure out like, I know it's out there.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of Wart, who is baby King Arthur, is sort of his relationship with that story. But another narrative that happens in there is that So King Pellinor gets convinced to join the court and give up his chase for a while. So he does. And then, as they did back then, they go on a wild boar chase in the winter. So everyone, there's this whole giant group of knights with all their armor, and they all want to catch this boar. It's about winning. But while they're chasing this boar, King Pellinor gets lost, and then when they find him later, he's sort of in this pit, cradling the head of the questing beast, which people finally see the questing beast, and they're like, oh, he wasn't crazy after all. But it's really weird. It's like, why is he holding this head of the questing beast? I thought he was trying to hunt it and kill it. But he's...
Oh, the head is attached?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
I should say.
I was picturing just the head.
The questing beast is lying in a pit.
Yeah.
It's still alive, but she's like... She looks starved and like just... She's essentially depressed because she was no longer being pursued. And King Pellinor realizes this, and he's like, what have I done? Like, this is what I was supposed to be doing. I was supposed to be chasing her. So he's all distraught.
So because he went to the court,
the
questing beast lost its purpose.
The questing beast lost its purpose.
Its purpose was to be chased by Pellinor.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's this diminished but still alive beast.
Yeah.
And they've finally found each other.
Yes. And Pellinor, there's like a line in there. He's like, curse the fluffy feathered bed that I thought I wanted. When after, like, what I really needed was to chase this beast. It's like, that's what I was supposed to be doing.
Come on.
Yeah.
This is everything. It's so everything.
It's such a good story.
Wow.
But yeah, so eventually, like, he nurses the questing beast back to health. And then there's a day where she gets better, and he gives her a head start. And then he puts his helmet back on and gets back on his weary old horse and his old raggedy dog. And he goes back off into the woods to chase the questing beast.
Into the sunset? That's the end?
Basically.
Wow. So there's this realization that maybe the comfort of the court isn't the source of purpose.
Yeah.
And he becomes intentional about going into the unknown.
Yeah. It's funny too, because it's like his purpose isn't to catch the beast. It's to chase after it.
Yeah. That's just brilliant. It's a brilliant paradigm or archetype, maybe.
Yeah.
Stories survive because they do what we need.
Yeah.
So the story has served its purpose for unknown generations.
Yeah.
So that reminds me very much of Makoto Fujimura. He wrote Art Plus Faith, and he's a kind of a leading mind and voice on Christian art today. And he insists that within society, within culture, artists are border stalkers. If culture can be envisioned as like a community that, maybe you could think of it top down like a circle, there's stability and development happening in the center where things are well established. And there are very important vital roles in that place that keeps it going. But the artist, what's the artist's job? The artist's job is to find the boundaries and see what's out there. Go poke around at the borders.
I think also to remind people that
there's more.
There's more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I hear in the questing beast.
Yeah.
The whole purpose is to just like chase.
Yeah. Ugh.
But interestingly, like the boar hunt is also a chase.
Right. But in that story, they do catch the boar.
Yeah.
And they kill it.
Right. So there's more assurance in that story.
Yeah.
We know what we're doing. We know the ending before we even begin.
Yeah.
And the whole point of the questing beast is like the exotic nature of it.
Yeah.
The unknownness of it.
It's a mystery.
People don't even believe in it. So it's this personal, like he has to advocate for this because others aren't on board.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I have never heard this story.
It's so weird.
But also like, it's a parable in a way, you know? It gets at a realization that is not weird.
Yeah. It's kind of funny too, because T.H. White, that's T.H. White's sort of telling of the questing beast. But there are a few different Arthurian storytellers or like people who collected the stories.
Just to be clear, Arthurian, King Arthur,
yeah.
Camelot.
Yes.
Okay.
And there are different stories and descriptions of the questing beast.
Sure.
So there's like a version where it's a small white fox-like creature, and everything, which I kind of like that idea of like it's not well defined in all of the tellings of it.
You know, yesterday you and I were at supper with Lydia Kratz.
Yes.
And we talked about snipes.
We did talk about
the snipe
snipes.
Hunt. Of course, she knows every creature on the planet by name. And
there is a real snipe.
She says, yeah, actually, no, I don't understand. There's a snipe. But the general understanding is that it's a prank. You know, you're trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes like, oh, did you see the snipe? You got to go find the snipe. That's a little cultural questing beast.
It is. Huh.
Like maybe this long lost sort of trail of the story that's come down to like playground talk.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, back to the water tank.
Oh yeah.
Right? So you just told the story.
Right.
How does it manifest in your capstone?
So the capstone piece itself was it wasn't like a straight retelling of that story. It just like it had the characters from it. I also had there was a boar and another character from the story who like the huntsman with his dogs, and the dogs chase rabbits. There's a lot of like it was sort of a bunch of vignettes of things chasing things.
Yeah.
And the questing beast, you don't really see the questing beast until the very end, and even when you do, it's like the lighting's very different. But I'll say it was on the theme of pursuit, using these characters in this story that feels so weird and mysterious. It leaves you with more questions than answers. And I think it just had to do with, part of it was coming from my whole college experience of like, there was this seeking that was happening, and not a lot of resolution in a lot of ways.
And maybe that's your purpose.
Maybe.
You're made to chase, not to catch.
Yes. I wanted the audience to be drawn in to this slow moment. Here's a 20-minute meditation on like pursuit. It was a 30-gallon fish tank that I put a bunch of curtains around, and then there was sort of a backstage, so that if you were sitting right in front of it, it looked like you were looking into something. Basically a tiny stage. The thing with water is that it's analog slow motion. And gravity still works, but it's like kind of weird.
Delayed.
Yeah, it's delayed, so it kind of puts you into this like ethereal, dreamlike sort of setting or atmosphere. And the whole show itself was about 20 minutes, and there were different scenes with these little rod puppets. You couldn't see any of the puppeteers. So like as an audience member, it was sort of a surprise what would emerge next. There was no narration during this, just some sort of ambient music.
Okay, so art term, give us a formal description. What would emerge? What would somebody see? If they can't see the puppeteers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have this little box where all the characters are coming in. I'll have to... It's been a while since I've watched the video, but usually one or two characters would come in, and there was music for each of the scenes. So like one of the scenes was the huntsman and his dog, and these were little puppets, maybe 3 or 4 inches, made of different materials. Usually there was like flowing fabric or fur. So like in and of itself, there was this like, I've never seen this before, so this is kind of weird. But yeah, so they were basically these little dances of different characters. So there was one with the huntsman and his dog. There was one with the dog and a rabbit. And it was basically them chasing each other through the scene.
Nobody's speaking.
Nobody's speaking. It's
right?
just music.
Yeah, so I think that helps our listeners.
Yeah. So it wasn't like a traditional story once upon a time.
Yeah.
It was sort of, I call it like movements or dances. You can do a lot with puppets. Like if you can move the head and like one hand, you can show so much expression. So there's a scene where like the huntsman pats his dog, or the boar could like shake his whole body, and he looked kind of like Sparky or something. Yeah, it was just like sort of showing the range of movements and emotions in the medium itself. But then you had these little vignettes of different characters interacting with each other. So it was like all these different characters had their own moments together, and they pursued each other, or tricked each other.
Is there a set besides the box? Any like background or establishing kind of stuff?
So the fish tank was just the fish tank, but behind that I made just silhouettes of things. So there was like a forest, different layers of forest. There was one scene where it was like a piece of black sort of cardboard or mat board with holes poked through, so it looked like the night sky.
In the water?
This was outside of the water. Like
on
if
the other side of the glass.
Yeah. So if you like looked at the head on, you would just see the screen, I call it the screen, the glass of the tank, and then the curtains. But if you went, it was bigger, long ways. It had I needed a lot of backstage space, just for the sight lines. Okay.
What kind of materials did you discover would work underwater or not work?
That was a fun thing too. Well, maybe sometimes it was fun and sometimes it was a little frustrating. Usually puppets, rod puppets in particular, are made of wood or paper mache, which are two things you probably shouldn't use in water. So these puppets were kind of a conglomeration of a lot of things. I did use some wood because I knew wood can take on some water, but
so what worked?
Aluminum foil.
Oh. That makes sense.
Yeah, that worked really well. Fishing weights were really helpful too, because sometimes air gets trapped in the aluminum, and you need something to. So, besides gravity or working against gravity, you have buoyancy, and that was kind of fun to play with too. So you could kind of make things float.
What's given you the kelp motion?
Fabrics. So all of the aluminum was covered with fabrics. Sometimes I wound it really tight so it would just stay close. And then other times it would be attached like a cape, for example, or a tail would just be some string or fabric attached in one spot, and then it would just flow freely. I think this is a thing in animation, but it's a thing in puppetry too, like secondary motion, where you have the one motion, but then you have something that is like a delayed motion. And that makes it feel very alive, which is something that I wanted the puppets to feel like. And water helps with that because things are always moving, even with like the puppeteer's control can be so slight, but then it makes all these other things react. Yeah. So fabric worked well. Aluminum, polymer clay is what I used for detailed things like faces and hands. Something I learned and something I'm still learning about puppetry is you do not need complicated mechanisms or even full descriptions, or like I did not need a whole body. I could just put fabric sort of gestures, and then you'd have all of the emotion be portrayed in the hands and the face. Sure.
So you could trail off the rest of the body in fabric.
Yes.
Sort of like the way we think of like Casper the Ghost or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fake fur stuff also worked really well, because that's so much movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly haven't done a lot of underwater puppetry since then, or maybe I've simplified it a lot, but that's something that I want to do more of because it feels so unexplored. People use it as like practical effects for stuff. If you've ever seen the Muppets Christmas Carol, the Ghost of Christmas Past that actually wasn't underwater puppetry because they used baby oil instead of water.
Under baby oil puppetry.
Yes. Because that, like, water makes things slow motion, but something thicker would be even more slow motion. Yeah. So
okay, so that ghost has these sort of very flowy robes that are slowly sort of vapor around them.
Yeah.
So they filmed that in a giant tank full of
baby
oil.
Yeah.
Wow. So
far, they are like the only people I've seen do that. Maybe except for Barnaby Dixon, who is this. He's on YouTube. He's a puppeteer. He's done a lot with theaters, but he'll like just mess around with mechanisms, and he's done baby oil before too.
I remember learning when I was, I don't know, maybe early high school, that back at that time, it was a big sort of trade secret in Hollywood that when they filmed something that was supposed to happen up in the sky, the clouds, their secret was they'd have this giant tank of water and they would pour and mix paint into it.
Yeah.
And it sort of suspends and moves slowly like clouds do, but then like they can be there and it's this more controlled environment. They can work with scale then, so like Superman flying through the air.
Yeah.
They're green screening, I believe, this footage of their cloud tank with the actor. So there's another kind of show business water tank thing. I don't want to get too stuck here because remember what we're working on. What are you doing here, right? So let's fast forward, right? So you did that. It's done. You did it. Mm-hmm. There is some evidence. I've seen footage of it. Was it a performance?
It was a live performance during the capstone show.
But it exists in kind of like an edited, pieced together piece of footage. Right? I mean, we showed this to art campers.
No. Was that just Jonah? I never got a full video.
I know that I've seen pieces of this thing.
I have photographs and I have a few videos, but it was hard. I never figured out how to document something that was a reflective screen with backlighting and low lighting.
Right. So. And your mind, like what you just said about Palinor, right? That's plenty of work. And then what you just said about trying to discover the medium and figure out buoyancy and movement, and the whole theater, that's plenty of work. And I think I just want to validate that. Whoa. Right. And then documenting it, like you said, running a camera is plenty of work. Learning how to do video. That's part. I'm excited that you're here because, we've observed before we turn the mics on that Bethany is very good at running cameras.
It is. That's something that I've, maybe to answer the question of why am I here, one of the answers to that question is since graduating and even during school, I think I've been craving some kind of artistic, creative community to be a part of. And not, definitely other artists, but also people who are doing maybe not just strictly visual arts, not just the painters and not just the sculptors, but also all the media arts people. And you were talking earlier about the engineering department making 3D prints of things. Like that's so cool.
It totally is. We just got some stickers that say Bethany, the place for Christian creatives, and you're describing exactly what we mean.
Yeah.
That it's if you look for that, if you look at campus with that lens, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's informing each other. It's talking together. So we hope, like, it's really great that you see that in us. That's one answer.
That's one answer.
Let's talk about your Lakeside project.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because that's another answer.
That is another answer. Yeah. So I'm working on a giant found object mosaic for Lakeside Lutheran High School in Lake Mills, Wisconsin. A found object mosaic means that usually with mosaic, you can buy mosaic tile. With this, it's all the supplies are coming from thrift stores. Pieces of glass and ceramic, preferably broken. It needs a new home. So that's not the dumpster.
And okay, so here we are again, elevating the mundane.
Dumpster diving once again.
This is the new masking tape.
Yeah.
Masking tape and light bulb turns into rescuing from secondhand stores. Mm-hmm. Why is that significant to this project?
So Lakeside is there's a thrift store called Twice as Nice. Just a few minutes from the school, and they have supported the school for as long as they've been open, and they've supported them generously. It's a huge thrift store. So when actually you had this project before, you were approached, and then you gave it to me. So they stated that they wanted something to show the relationship between the school and the generosity of the thrift store throughout the years. So they were basically like, we want some sort of collage or something for this new entryway of the school. It's a giant blank wall. But so there's that part of it, showing that relationship of generosity. But also there's this really nice narrative in there about sort of renewal or rebirth, taking old, worn out things and making them new. So, lots of baptism references and what's that Isaiah verse? See,
Behold, I am making a new thing.
Yes. Like springs out of the desert or the wasteland. So, yeah. And like, what a better reminder of who you are in Christ. You're God's own beloved child. And like, as you walk through the school and, as a teenager, you struggle with identity. Who am I? What am I doing? I have all this homework, and I have to be a good athlete, and I have to be a good artist, blah, 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 like all these different things. But it's like the one thing that you need to know is that you are God's own child. So hopefully that's the goal of this artwork.
Okay, we've just talked about materials. What about narrative? What kind of imagery?
So it's going to be a giant waterfall coming from this sort of radiant golden sky. I should say the wall itself is like 18 feet tall. So like when you walk in the building, it's sort of overwhelming how tall the whole thing is. It'll be a giant waterfall that flows out toward, like, at the bottom, to just give you this sense of overwhelming flowingness coming from above. And then there's the image of water and how that ties to baptism too.
I really think scale is going to work in your favor.
Yeah.
You got this giant space.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about big blessings, it confronts you. It's bigger than you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in the center of everything will be this sculpture of a dove, sort of like flying down or like hovering in the middle of things, which, the Holy Spirit being present among us and bringing the gifts from above.
Okay, so that we promise that's a kind of an answer for what you're doing here, but we just described the project in in Lake Mills, Wisconsin.
Right.
That it doesn't answer it.
You're right. So mosaic is tedious. So Bethany has this really cool thing called art service, which is a bunch of art students working on like real world projects. Sometimes I feel weird saying the word real world, but
sounds like an MTV show.
Yeah. There's just this really great opportunity to have a lot of hands help with this project to complete it. And also just, again, working within that creative community. It's going to be a giant project, and you
need a place to build it.
Space is an important thing.
And so just to be clear, Bethany isn't big enough.
True.
We're not building it at Bethany completely.
Right. This will all be the landing zone will be at Sweet Haven Studios in New Ulm, which is another outpouring of generosity. Oh, man.
Just so much great. Just so much beautiful stuff.
You can't make this up.
That's right. And you couldn't know it was coming.
Yeah, it's a big blessing to use the space under Sweet Haven.
So let me explain that briefly. Sweet Haven Tonics is owned by my friend and former student Leah Peckrell, and she has generously insisted that I can use the space below it for whatever makes sense. Something regarding art. So over the last several years, I've been sort of figuring that out and iterating, and her generosity inspired me to become generous with that opportunity. And so that space I envision as a landing zone for individual artists, especially in our fellowship, who are working towards understanding their intersection of faith and creativity, and then also for large sort of group projects or large scale projects that need a spot. And last summer, this space did a lot of work for the Wells Worship Conference. It hosted much of the work there, and it's the size of an entire city lot, so it's 150 feet long by 50 feet wide, and it wasn't big enough. Right? We were stepping over projects and barely making it. We needed so much room. I don't know what we would have done if we didn't have that space. I just don't think about that.
Yeah.
And so now here we are again, and Art Service is working on. I'm running out of chalkboard space to just list the things that we're working on, and so that's a nice overflow space for us in New Ulm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so back to it. We're going to set up your mosaic there.
Yeah, and then I'll have to build it in pieces anyway to transport it. So like backseat of car size pieces. Yeah.
We have to think practicalities. It's got to go through doors. It's got to somehow move around.
Yeah.
So panels.
Yeah, panels of this giant mosaic will travel to Bethany to get worked on.
Yeah.
So.
And your role is to facilitate the whole thing, design it. You're primarily responsible for it, but we're weaving in the Bethany campus.
Mm-hmm.
So you around campus may be able to pop in, depending on when you hear this and what's going on in the studios, but you may be able to see the progress in person.
Yeah.
And we definitely intend to involve all kinds of creative people on campus in the building of it.
Yeah.
To give opportunities and to aid in the tedium.
Yes. Yeah. Lots of hands.
We're going to be smashing stuff.
We are going to be smashing things.
And then we're going to put them together in a meaningful way.
Yes.
Right? It's not just, there used to be a comedian named Gallagher, and his whole bit was smashing watermelons with a sledgehammer, smashing pumpkins with a sledgehammer. Well, there's more to it than that. It's more than just violence. How long are you around?
That's a really good question. However long. I'm kind of moved here, so I'm thinking at least a year and then maybe more. To be determined.
Questing beast.
Questing beast. Yes. I mean, it's to have a space to work in, to have more than one space to work in, between here and Sweet Haven, and then to be surrounded by a community that just values art, sees the value of making art, and then can make it really good. That's a gift, and I want to be a part of that. So
well, that's the theory, you know. We build it with people like you in mind. You kind of you don't quite fit a category of how we have operated, because you're not really a student and you're not really a teacher. But I'm not afraid of that. I think you're maybe a pioneer in a category that we might be able to iterate and develop into something legible to us, something like a visiting artist, or something like that, a guest artist. There's plenty of precedent for that around the world. Can we? I think if we're talking to you, we really should talk about Jonah.
We should talk about Jonah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we jumped from graduating and questing beast in the tank to today. You just got here. So in the meantime, you've been here. You've been sort of in our orbit different times. Mm-hmm. I'll just give the short version here. You said you apprenticed with me one summer. You were up here again the following summer?
I think I skipped a summer because that was the year I graduated. But then I came back for the the Sunday school posters. There was a summer that was like kind of the first summer that you had the space open.
And we're familiar around this campus. I just want to remind everyone. So we did illustrations for Wells multi-language productions, first serving Sunday school teachers in Zambia, and then in the second wave serving the seminary in Vietnam. Faith was part of that team.
Yeah, that was a really awesome, cool project. There were like a dozen-ish artists working on that.
different degrees of integration.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you were involved heavily in the Wells Worship Conference work last summer, which I mentioned, a lot of that happening in the basement of Sweet Haven in New Ulm. So you've been around, and we consider you kind of an honorary member of the Bethany Art Department. Art Service members from the past have sort of taken you in. You know, you're an adopted member, and so now you're back.
Yeah.
And we've got work to do. But I want to talk about Jonah. Okay, so you were back. You helped with art camp. A couple years, right?
Couple years.
2 years. You were really important for me, helping me sort of plan and survive. And we showed Jonah. I think that's maybe a way for us to get into what is this Jonah that we're talking about.
Yeah, so Jonah is a shadow puppet and underwater puppet show, with a large, like a 3-screen stage. Large meaning like 15 feet across-ish.
Right.
So smaller than like a theater stage, but
hard to fit in your car.
Barely fits in my car.
Right, so it felt large, but when people picture large, it's not like an IMAX theater.
Right. Just imagine all of this fitting into a Honda Accord. Yeah. Very strategically.
It's a PVC construction, so it comes apart, right? You invested. You said you spent about $1,000 to build your theater.
Yeah. I got some. It was like some kind of completely blackout curtains. And then
velvet-ish.
Velvet-ish. And I built this giant theater. It's got 3, like a central shadow screen with 2, I call them booths. They're kind of like portrait-sized. And then a secret underwater stage.
I think we could picture a triptych.
Right?
Yep. There's a central screen and then 2 on the side.
Yes.
Flanking it. And then under
under the central
surprise.
Screen. Yep. Underwater.
We pull some curtains away and what is that? There's a tank of water.
There's a tank of water, and it opens. There was actually a separate piece that was like a tiny triptych that opened up to reveal sort of the gaping mouth of a big old fish with like glowing eyes. So it's fun to make the frames into puppets themselves.
It's a little extra.
A little extra, but that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the Jonah show had original music.
Yes,
composed.
I had. It's my my sister's now fiance composed all of the music. So that was original. The story was adapted from the biblical story, adapted so that it would fit for a shadow puppet show.
Mm-hmm. And in this version, people are talking.
Yes, there's a central narrator. Since school, I've been using like a narrator for every show. I think that I've been doing more traditional storytelling, I'll call it. But yeah, so there was one narrator, and then a team of 7 to 8 puppeteers in the back.
Yeah, and I've been there. It's crowded.
It's crowded.
Right?
Yep.
Like you call it a big theater, but for 7 to 8 people to be crouching and not showing in the light,
mm-hmm.
And trying to manage their stuff, it's intimate.
Yep, it's a little
cozy.
Demanding of the puppeteers, but there's we had to organize some of the set movements for that whole thing. So there was like sort of a dance going on, but it was the whole story of Jonah. Obviously, you get there's the call, the storm, the big fish, and then you have that like weird maybe third and fourth chapter that you kind of miss in like your normal Sunday school lessons. So like
God
people
provided a worm.
Yeah.
Lydia Kratz's favorite line.
It's just I've showed that show to a lot of different crowds. I've showed it to like church crowds, but I've also shown it to, I'll call it secular, but it was like at a gallery space. And it's really cool to see people be like, I didn't know that I thought it ended at the big fish part.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Jonah's such a weird, good story. Kind of ends with questions again, more than answers in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I thought it was brilliant that your script is just the book.
Yeah.
Just read scripture.
Yeah. I've that's been a fun thing to not really play around with, but like occasionally you'll have to switch a verse or two around. I think in Jonah there's like there's some talking that happens in the last chapter that actually sort of describes Jonah's thoughts in the first chapter. So there was a little bit of rearranging there, just for the flow of storytelling. I mean, if you're just reading the book itself, it's good to go back to that. But sometimes with puppets, that's something I'm still wrestling with, I think, is like, how do I make it flow without changing? Because, I mean, the story itself is masterful, how it's written, but yeah.
I'm fascinated because I've performed with you backstage in different circumstances that same show.
Mm-hmm.
We did it at Hearts and Hands. We did it at Art Camp. We did it at St. John's New Ulm.
Yeah.
Well, I was surrounded by different people.
Right.
So you're the constant. You have this show. You're always there. And sometimes we have a training session where people have to learn their parts. I think at St. John's, when we did that, we practiced like a half an hour before. Kids were sitting in seats.
Yep.
And, everybody's a little nervous, and then it happens. And and it does its thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really like that participatory aspect, the backstage accessibility of it is something. There's something, there's potential, big potential there. I can imagine you taking this on the road, and you've got like you and maybe one other, but then like you populate the puppeteers from the people that you're serving.
I did do that last January in Milwaukee at
seems like a good idea.
It was at Atonement. They have a school there, and it was a bunch of fourth graders. And that was like it really forced me to be super organized, because I have to know everything that's going on and also how to direct people. But the kids did great. So I should say I've also done a couple Christmas plays at my church back in Tennessee, where the kids puppeteer, because I've learned that kids are naturally very good puppeteers because they know how to play. I think sometimes with adults, and I've had really good adult puppeteers, I should say, but sometimes you have to get over this barrier of like they're nervous about not doing it right. You don't get that with kids. They grab the puppets and they're already in the world. They're already playing. The character's always alive. You have to actually like reel them back sometimes.
It's like a natural habitat. They're used to pretend.
Yes, they know how to play.
Yeah.
Puppetry is very teachable. I think as long as you have sort of a director in the back, or like someone doing, like I will usually stand in the back and like whisper instructions for the kids at my church. I'm specifically thinking of my Christmas play that I did this past year. But I'm like changing the sets, but as long as the kids, like, once they're seated, they grab their puppet. I just say, like, puppets up, and it's their world. And they do so good. And they come up with things that I wouldn't think of either. Just, like, the way they move things, and, they're so good.
What a thing. It's like you're a band director or something.
Yeah.
Puppets up,
a conductor.
Perform. Yeah. You're a puppetry conductor.
Yeah.
I think you're in a very interesting territory, like you're out in the woods. It's the questing beast. What is it? We hardly even know what it is, but you're chasing it.
Yeah.
And I think you moving across the country, right? This is also the questing beast. I think I want to express that I admire your courage in all of this. Underwater basket weaving in many forms. There's definitely there's a long-term resolve. It takes a long time to see what it is that you're actually doing. If you go back to the impulse of the underwater kelp.
Yeah.
And you saw that and you thought, oh, that's something. Right? And then you think about the shows that has spawned, that initial fascination. You didn't quite know that you were getting to where you are.
Yeah.
But you began. Right? There's a courage there to follow that impulse, to follow the intuition that this is something. And I think I want to say that to you, and I also want to say it to the microphone. I want people to hear that that's important work, to follow a hunch. See where it goes. Border stalkers, what's possible. We poke at what's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny too, because like with shadow puppetry, it's kind of an old art. Mm-hmm. I mean, depending on what you read, that's like one of the oldest ways of telling stories.
Maybe it's Plato's cave. Right?
Well,
shadows on the wall?
Yeah. Yeah, there's something there also about like old things.
Mm-hmm.
Saying old things again.
Saying old things again. Wow. Yeah. Some call that the great conversation. That we participate in this very ancient conversation. Saying old things again, I love that. Because I think, we're doing this high cross, this plaster sculpture.
Yeah.
I think that's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
When I carve stone, there's something just like unexplainably engaging about that to me. And I think it's saying old things in old ways. Again.
Yeah.
It's not worn out. Well, I might be worn out. Maybe it's time for us to wind down our conversation. Anything on your mind before we go away?
I don't know. I just want to tell good stories. I guess that's the goal. Maybe that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Well, and it's very understandable to want to be with people who have similar goals.
Yeah.
And that's part of what we're building here. We're trying to build. We're trying to be the right place for people like you. And that that goes for high school students. It goes for professionals. We have a lot of different ways that we find for people to get connected to a community like this. I stumbled upon a phrase that does a decent job of explaining it. It doesn't take long for this community to become part of you, and it doesn't take long for you to become part of this community. So here you are on day 2 recording a podcast. It doesn't take long. Access is just show up, just be here.
It's like a playground in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
The playground itself is there, but there's a lot of cool friends.
Yeah. My daughter Maida, whom
Yes.
likes to talk about parallel play.
I love that phrase. I love it.
That's toddlers, just they're working on their own projects, but they're next to each other. Yeah, that's us. That's us. And sometimes we help each other, help somebody climb the ladder, the rope ladder or whatever on the playground.
Give them a boost.
Sometimes we push somebody in the swing. Sometimes we get pushed. It's pretty nice. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Whistle the Feast. Till next time.
And that concludes this episode of Whistle the Feast. We hope you enjoyed being a part of the conversation as much as we did. Whistle the Feast would not be possible without all the creative people and spaces at Bethany Lutheran College. And you can head on over to blc.edu to learn more about the college or schedule a visit. If you have thoughts, questions, or feedback, we'd love to hear from you. You can actually send any feedback about the show to feastreaders@gmail.com. And hey, if you've got a project you'd like to promote, we'd love to support it. Just send your details our way. A huge shout out to the wonderful people in our Bethany community for sharing their thoughts with us, and our producer Jaksyn Graham for managing the edits. And with that, I'm Norah Kratz alongside Jaspersen, and we want to thank everyone who tuned into this episode of Whistle the Feast. Until next time.
Get curious, be of good service, and discover what God has given you.